Hello, right-footed family. Welcome back. This week, I want to talk about something that may be very familiar to you, handicapped parking spaces. I want to ask you, do you think I should park in a handicapped space when I go to Taekwondo? It seems straightforward. Are these spaces for people with disabilities? Yes. Do I have a qualifying disability? Yes. But my question isn't, can I park there, but rather, should I park there? The question brings up legal and moral issues surrounding disability, and also the historical context surrounding these handicapped spots, and people's general perceptions. There are also very opinionated people who think these spaces are only for people in wheelchairs, simply because of the symbol. Let me share with you a little history behind the handicapped slots. Despite the Ford Model T being introduced in 1908, the first handicapped parking policy was introduced in D.C. only in 1973. A national requirement for these spaces wasn't introduced until 1990, when President Bush Sr. signed the Americans with Disabilities Act into law. The current standards in the U.S. require about 2 to 5% of available spaces in a parking lot to be accessible. But not all disabilities would make someone eligible for the right to use these spaces. The requirements vary from state to state, but the main criteria is hindered mobility. Some states also include pain or one's need to rest frequently as qualifying characteristics. And there are a couple states that will give a permit to someone with visual or hearing impairments. So in the context of my Taekwondo school, there's about 100 to 150 parking spaces in the complex. That means there should be 4 accessible parking spaces, and there are. Most of them are usually in use when Patrick and I are there. A word of warning as we go forward. You should never ask someone the details of their medical condition or disability, especially if they are a stranger, and you could be in deep legal trouble if they're a customer. But let me share with you my personal experiences. For one, amputees like me cannot regulate our body temperature very well because we don't have the same skin surface to body mass ratio as people with all 4 limbs. So living in Arizona, where summer temperatures can get pretty intense, it would be much better for me if I don't have to walk very far from the car to the school. Second, and probably more importantly, carrying bags is difficult for me. Not impossible, but difficult. I don't have hands to reposition my bag on my shoulder when it inevitably starts to slip. So getting my gear bag into the school can sometimes be a problem. However, I wonder if it would be better use of the space for me to forego using it and walk a greater distance on the off chance that someone with a greater need will use it. And then there is the possibility of someone confronting me about using the space. There are a number of people out there who feel it is their responsibility to police these parking spaces. They have harassed people with disabilities who have conditions that aren't readily visible. Their intent is good. They are trying to stop people who abuse the privilege, but in the end, they usually end up misjudging the situation. It's hard to tell I don't have arms when I'm wearing a jacket, but believe it or not, there are frequent instances where I was wearing a short-sleeved shirt and someone still didn't notice. And I'm walking to a Taekwondo school, a place the average person would assume someone with a disability doesn't go. I like to avoid a confrontation in front of the students at the school, most of whom are kids. And while I could later sit down with the students and talk about such a confrontation, I will never be able to change that moment and that impression it left in their mind. I would love to hear what you think. Do you think it makes a difference when Patrick is with me? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I have another challenge for you. I take my feet for granted just like you take your hands for granted. So this week, I'd like to see you open a door without using your hands or arms. Post some proof down in the comments and I'll share my favorites on my Facebook page. If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who could use a little motivation. After all, if I can fly an airplane without arms, what is it that you can do?